Hello, I'd like to welcome you to the presentation we'll be doing today, which is going to be Autodesk Inventor, and we're going to be looking at the frame generator. We're going to show you just how easy it is to put steel framework into a model by using existing edges, sketches, or parts that are in the assembly. As you can see, we've got a skid here. We want to actually put some framework around the end and to put a support on the pump motor on the side of the skid. To do this, we're going to drop into the frame generator just by changing our menu, and we can just say we want to insert some steel framework. It'll come up with a little wizard, so we can actually set our template here. We can choose the standard we want to use, so we're going to go for BSI. We can choose the section, and I'm going to go for a bit of box section, and then we can choose the size. So I want this 100 by 100 square. I can then choose any piece of geometry in the model to actually place my framework, and as I move my cursor over, you'll see it highlighting all of the edges. So all I have to do is click on these edges, and it'll produce some steel framework to match that shape. You can even change this whether it's 5 individual pieces, or we can say I want to merge those together and make one piece of steel. When we hit the apply button, it'll now produce a brand new component with a part number, and also the cut length will be recorded for your drawings and bills of materials later on. So we can say OK to that. Once that's created, we can then go back to our template and we can insert some more framework. So we're going to do the other side of the box. So once that's done, we can come back to our wizard and we'll just select the other side like so. And again, we're just going to say OK. Last thing we need to do is join the two sides together, and we can even pick on tangent edges. So we can see we've got a curve here that picks on the tangent edge, and it'll pick that line for me again automatically. And we just say OK to dismiss the box. So that's our framework in there. What we can do now is actually hide this component in the middle. We'll just turn the visibility of that off. And now we need to trim our frame correctly to make sure it's fitting in the right place. And now we've hidden that component, we can actually see we've got a slight design error. We actually need this piece of framework to be flush on the end. It's not a problem. At any time you can just go and say you want to change your frame. So I'm just going to select on my piece of framework, and now I can change the positioning. So I can put it to one edge like so, and you see it moves across. So with that change done, we can now trim the rest of the framework up. So to use the trim, we're just going to say we want to trim and extend face, and here we can do 2 pieces of frame at once. So we're just going to select both of those pieces of framework and just say I want to cut it level with this face here and apply. Do the same on the other side. So again, we select our framework, choose the face, and then say OK. Next we need to take care of our pump, and again we've got some more geometry here, just part of our model. I'm just going to use the edges of our pump to place some steel framework in there. Now, I'm not sure what size or section I want, so I can just go to my insert command again. We'll choose a different section that looks roughly right, but again we can always modify this as we're going through the system. So we go for an I-beam. As you see, we've got lots and lots of profiles to choose from. I think that looks about right. Now I've got that, I can simply select the edges of my component. It'll place a piece of I-beam on there. And again, you can see the usefulness of the previews now. We can see that's in the wrong position straight away. So again, I can change the orientation. So we're going to drop it down a little bit. And I can also change the size. So we can just go up our sizes until we look correct. So there we go. I think that's about right. If we're happy with that, we don't want to merge this as one component. We want 3 separate components, so we just take off the merge command, say OK, and it'll now create 3 completely separate parts of steel work for me. And there we go. Need to do a bit of trimming again, so this time we're going to use our miter command, and we're just going to say we want a miter between this piece and this piece. Again, we can put an offset in there if we wish, but I'm just going to leave it so it butts up nice and flush. And say apply, and then we'll just do the other 2 components like so. and say OK to that. Now that's done, the last thing we need to do is just notch this beam into our side beam, and all we have to do is use the notch command. And again, we've got a color coded preview here, so we want to notch this part into this part. You see we've got the yellow and the blue coding, the same as in our preview. So apply to that, and you'll see it'll notch out our piece of I-beam. And then we just do the same on the other side. And there we go. Very, very easy, very, very quick to use. Next thing we need to look at is if our design changes. So what happens if I want to move my pump to this end of the skid? I've done all this work, would I have to redo it? Well, simply no, you don't. As soon as I release my mouse, you'll see the framework will look at where the new component has moved to, and it'll update itself automatically. And there we go. Very simple, very effective. What I want to do now is just document my frame, so I'm just going to open this up in its own window so we can actually see our framework, and then I want to create a drawing of it and produce a cut list. Again, very easy to do. We're just going to create a new drawing using the standard Inventor template. So we want a base view of our steel framework that we've just produced. We'll have an ISO view, and we'll have that shaded as well, and just drop it into our drawing. We can then go to our annotation area and say we want to create a parts list of the components in this view. We'll say OK to that, and then place it in. Now we can see we've got a slight problem with the scaling on our drawing, so again, very, very easy to solve these problems. We're just going to right click on our drawing and just say we want to edit the sheet, and instead of making it an A3, we'll make it an A2. So you can change things on the fly as you're working. We'll put our table up the top there, and then we'll just increase the scale of our view, and we'll just make this 1:40, like so. So there we have our table with all of our cut lengths on it. Again, you can modify this, change the size of these cells, etc. And also if we double click, we can export this to an Excel spreadsheet, text file, etc, etc. What we need to do now is tie up the parts list with the actual part on the screen. And again, we're going to do this fairly quickly just by saying we want to automatically balloon all of the components in this view. The balloon placement, we can have them either vertical or around. So we can say vertical balloons, doesn't look very nice. Horizontal, still too far apart. And this time we're going to go for that evenly matched around. What we can do is just tweak these with our mouse, say OK, and apply that change. And now we have a documented drawing, all the cut lengths of our sheet steel or our steel section ready to go. Obviously this is fully parametric and will update automatically if we make any changes to any of the models. So that's a quick look at Autodesk Frame Generator. As you can see, very easy to use and very quick to produce your drawings at the end.